Hey, everybody. Welcome in deep inside Lambeau Field, inside the Gannett offices here in Green Bay. It's raining pretty heavy outside, but the Packers made it rain on the scoreboard tonight. Pete Dougherty alongside Ryan Wood. We both had 34-17 going into this game. Let's pat ourselves on the back here a little bit. 35-17. Blind squirrel gets a nut every once in a while. Pete?
Yeah,
I'd ask if you had it's coming, but we did. We had this coming.
Yeah, but as soon as I sent in the pick, I thought, well, that was stupid. They're not going to win by that much.
I have confidence.
And anybody who watched the game knows that they did not dominate in this game at all. There's still defensive issues there. The offense, it obviously took a huge step up and looked more like the team we're expecting to see. But there's a lot of issues on defense, and it's just going to be a really interesting half season or so here to see if they improve, if they get better. Does the new coordinator figure things out? Do they start getting more out of guys? Because right now there's just there's not much playmaking out of that front seven.
It's one of those games where they kind of got back to what worked all of 2020 offensively. They ran to set up the pass. I think everyone knew that was coming, and the first three plays tonight, Aaron Jones run, Aaron Jones run, Aaron Jones run, right off the bat. And it's very clear with this offense, they've got the MVP, the reigning MVP in the league. They got the best receiver in the league. And the most important thing is that they run the football first, and then they set up everything else. That was the key tonight.
Yeah, and Aaron Jones looked like the guy who played well enough to get a $10 million contract per year. He just looked really dynamic tonight. I think, and they didn't – what killed them last week was they just had so few opportunities. They didn't get any first downs, so they never got anything going. But there was on one of his few runs, I remember there was he didn't look like he was quite, he wasn't as decisive as he usually was, at least on this one run, and he got nailed for a 1-yard loss. And tonight it was just, you could just see those runs where he just, all of a sudden he sees us, the run's going a little bit left, and all of a sudden he sees the hole to his right, and he just explodes through it. And he's made a career out of that. And you see the difference when there are other running backs in the game. Now, A.J. Dillon's a different kind of back, and he looked pretty solid tonight too. But I just think back to last year when Jones was in there, and then Williams would come in. And Williams was fine. He was decent back. But you could just see that he was not nearly as good as Aaron Jones. He can't find those crevices. And then if he sees them, he can't explode through them. That's what we saw with Jones tonight, plus the receiver too. And Dillon had that really nice catch along the sidelines, that kind of the play that broke down. Rodgers scrambled, throw was over his head. He caught it. He looked like a comfortable catcher there. That was Packers have to feel pretty good about that and feeling like they can trust him catching the ball more as the season goes on.
Aaron Jones had 4 touchdowns tonight, 3 through the air. One of those was one of those jet sweep things.
And like LaFleur said, that's really more a run.
It's a run, but hey, it's not a run. It's not a run. It's a pass.
It's not.
It's a catch. He became the first Packers running back with 3 touchdown catches in a single game since, wait for this, Andy Urum. I got it right. 1942, the year Bambi came out, if you're paying attention to home. It's been a minute. Aaron Jones thought that was kind of a neat fact. And look, this is his first game, the first time in the end zone since his father passed this offseason. We talked about that with Aaron Jones after the game. Obviously an emotional night for him. He said he had about 15 family members here for this home opener. He lost a necklace that was carrying his father's ashes after the second touchdown in one of the end zones. They haven't found it yet. He said if he was going to lose that anywhere, his dad would have wanted him to lose it there in the end zone. So a big night for Aaron Jones and a big night for the running game. Pete, they needed to run the ball not only because it worked offensively, but because it kept the defense on the sideline and off the field. My goodness, the first 4 possessions, 2 touchdowns, field goal, then nothing the rest of the night, primarily because the Packers offense was on the field and the Packers defense was safely on the sideline. But they've got to figure something out, because right now I think Mike Pettin is somewhere cackling over how this defense is looking.
A lot of questions here about Stokes and King. I don't know what your feelings are about either or both.
They switched it up tonight, right? They put Kevin King in the slot, and how do you think that worked for him?
Okay. Their run defense was nothing to get excited about. I still think Detroit lost the game on 4th and 1. They're down 21-17. Is that right?
we had a disagreement before that
And
play.
they went for it, which was the right move because they were
I
not
disagree.
they were not stopping the Packers at all. And if they get back ahead, they really keep the pressure on the Packers. And it's 4th and 1, and they run it. I mean, this is a perfect time, or if they throw it, and it's a tough little out pass, and they don't complete it. Mike Holmgren was the king of on 3rd and 4th and really short. He'd go 4 wides and then run it. He'd spread the defense out and then run it. And that would have been a perfect time for them to run it. I don't think any time they needed a couple of yards to run, they didn't get it. So I just thought they were insane to not run that ball.
I would have. He thinks I'm insane. He calls me this regularly. I would have taken the points because if you get the 3 there, what was it, 21-17? You get it 21-20, and then if you might stop the Packers because the Packers occasionally tonight they forgot that they had to run the football. It was occasional, but occasionally they did. So maybe they get a stop. Even if they don't, it's a 1-score game if you give up a touchdown. So the fact that they did it, and then that was the turning point. I would have taken the 3 points personally, but Pete's probably right.
They needed touchdowns. Anyway, back to Stokes and King. So they did play King they did a lot of nickel where King played the slot. I think Tom Silverstein was right. We were just discussing this, that it was to match up with Cephas, who's a really tall receiver.
Mm-hmm.
Then they had 21 and 23 playing the outsides, Alexander and Stokes. So I don't know if that's a week-to-week thing that would change. I wouldn't think King would be playing the slot against small, quick guys. But Stokes, I mean, he's a talented guy. He had a couple rough moments. That touchdown, he blew the coverage on that. Guy was it Cephas or whoever?
Are you sure it was Stokes on that?
I'm not positive. I'd have to see the replay. But what I saw was everybody was playing zone again, but Stokes, from what I could tell. And Stokes went with the receiver inside, and he just kept going across the end zone. Everybody else was picking him up, and nobody had the corner covered. I think it was zone coverage. It looked to me like zone coverage, and Stokes played man.
Levi wants to know how do they get a pass rush without Z going forward, because it's at least 2 more games, maybe longer, that they won't have Zadarius Smith. It would help the blitz.
Yeah, they got to do something. You know what?
Useful.
That's why I still am a little intrigued by playing Alexander in the slot. And, can you blitz him? Can you make him a Charles Woodson kind of guy?
Surprised they haven't done that yet.
He's really – I'm sure they love having him on the outside because he can take a receiver away. But look at what a weapon Woodson was inside. And Alexander seems like a really smart and instinctive player besides being talented. So that I think that'd be interesting to put him in there, worth a shot. But yeah, so in the corner blitz, the slot blitzes could help, but they've got to do something. Again, front 7 just did not make many plays. I don't think the inside of that defensive line, other than Kenny Clark, there's just down in, down out. Every once in a while, one of those guys that have a good play, but it's, you watch these other games and there are guys doing a lot of stuffing up there, and the Packers just don't seem like they're physically dominating up there.
Charlie says the old line wasn't all that good tonight.
I thought it was okay.
I thought it was okay too. Aaron Rodgers said after the game that he kind of stepped into a couple sacks there, and I thought there was improvement. They clearly got more push in the run game than they had at all in the opener. I thought it was better tonight.
Yeah, Rashawn Gary, 12th overall. Come on, man. He did not show up much tonight. I mean, he got credit for his sack, and it was a really good bull rush, but the ball Goff, it was wet, and Goff just dropped the ball. Otherwise, he still probably would have gotten it out. It was a pressure, might have caused an incompletion anyway. But yeah, you're right. 12th overall, they need that guy to really show up with Zadarius Smith out. And tonight was pretty ho-hum. They need a lot better than what we saw tonight. Now, I will say LaFleur he said after the game, he thinks Detroit has a really, really good offensive line. Which, if that's the case, then maybe that accounts for not as much pressure. But they just, Preston Smith had a good 1 or 2 pressures, and that was about it. There's just not a lot of juice there. So I think Barry's going to have to actually run. What did LaFleur say? It was interesting. At halftime, he told Barry, you either got to, if you're going to cover, you cover, or else you got to blitz, because they're not getting one. They weren't getting any pressure rushing for.
Charlie, you got me cracking up here. Do you guys get a discount if you get a haircut at the same time? Look, I'll just be honest with you guys.
I cut my own hair.
I do too. I'll be honest with you guys. My entire life, not just in the time working, my entire life I've wanted to be like Pete Doherty, and it's just I've taken it a little far. So I don't know. I think you like the haircut, don't you?
Kenny Clark, Slayton. Slayton played some. I can't say I noticed him. Clark is, he seemed to play okay. I mean, I wasn't focusing on the D line, trying to watch a lot of things. Still not sure if they got all that much better at inside linebacker with the Campbell signing. He was still getting beat in coverage. I mean, he runs better than Kirksey did, but I'm not sure I'm seeing a big difference there. I guess a big part of it will be how steep the learning curve is with Joe Barry and how steep the learning curve is with his players learning that defense. It better be really steep because otherwise, it's funny. I was thinking, and I'm going to write this about this is right now. This is feeling like 2016 to me. And Rodgers even brought up that season. And that was a year where they just had to jump on people. When they won, they jumped on people, got ahead. It's like keeping ahead of the sticks. They just kept ahead the whole game. Once the Packers got up by 2 touchdowns tonight, they were fine on defense. But, that's not easy to do. And
when you can't count on doing that. You can make them one-dimensional offensively. It's a lot easier. Dave, you're trying to goad me. Don't even bring up Javier Baez. Joe wants to know, will Cobb be more involved going forward? A couple third-down plays tonight, one on a free play. It's almost like he's been with this quarterback before. What do you make? 3 catches, 26 yards. It was more situational. It wasn't so much the stats; it was the situations. What do you make of Randall Cobb tonight? Is he going to be a guy? I mean, they need someone other than Davante Adams from the wide receiver group.
He's going to help them when plays break down, or like tonight they had the free play, and who did he go to? He went to Cobb on the free play, and they picked up 18, 20 yards, something like that. I'm sure he's going to have his moments this year. I'm still suspect about how he's going to be in December and January. And if Amari Rodgers is good, if this is taking playing time away from him, is this going to hurt them come, January? I still wonder about that. Now, Amari Rodgers they're not even playing him at all. So there's, he must not be showing up enough in practice to get any playing time. I don't think that's a Cobb playing, forcing Cobb ahead of him. I think it seems like it's Amari Rodgers just not doing enough yet to warrant the time.
Lee thinks the Packers found a kickoff returner with Kylan Hill. Lee, they might have. That was pretty slick tonight.
Yeah. It looked really good. And the one guy called back on the holding, but
some burst there though on that play.
Yeah, getting the ball over the 40-yard line.
Gosh, it's been a long time, hasn't it? My goodness, it's been a long time.
How many home run throws to MVS did he miss? At least
3.
2.
There was 3 tonight. The first one was the opener on the second drive when inexplicably they went 3 passes and a 3 and out. So they're only 3 and out all night. Here's the thing: Aaron Rodgers took full responsibility for all 3 of them. After he said, "Gosh, hate that he missed MVS tonight." He took full culpability of missing him, and they're going to go back to they view. Matt LaFleur said after the game the offense's approach was to get the ball in the hands of the playmakers. He named Davante Adams, Robert Tonyan, Aaron Jones. All 3 had big nights, and then he named MVS, and they wanted to take some shot. They view MVS as a playmaker. And the fact that they were 0 for 3 on those deep shots tonight, they don't look at that as MVS's fault. Aaron Rodgers took responsibility for it.
Charlie's wondering if he's aware you can dive. I didn't think any of those balls were catchable on the dive. I think Rodgers just overshot him on all of them. Not by a ton, but by a good yard or so. I mean, out of the laying out and still being able to catch at range. And that's what he does bring to the offense. And even, teams are going to see that on film. They're going to go, oh, next time that throw's going to be on the money. They know they've got to cover that deep shot. So then if they do play the 2 deep and the Packers run the ball like they did tonight, it's still good for the Packers offense. And when they're running like that, as you said, it keeps the other side of the ball on sideline.
I think we'll end it tonight on this because I think it's it's early. But it's a big. If this continues, Matt LaFleur said that the defense was on an upward trajectory, but it's got to get more upward in a hurry because if this continues, it's going to become more of a talking point. Early in our conversation tonight, I think it was Rod that brought up Joe Barry on the hot seat. Look, it's 2 weeks. If you're head coach, you don't put your defense coordinator in the hot seat in 2 weeks. It's early, but at what point do they need to see something more than what they've seen? Because what are they, 6 for 6 allowing touchdowns in the red zone this season? That ain't going to cut it when you are all in that last dance hyperbole but all in on 2021, and you're a Super Bowl contender, and it's Super Bowl or bust. That ain't going to cut it. So when do they need to see something more than that?
I can't give you an exact date, but I mean, what you're suggesting, I think is right. And I normally wouldn't say this, but the leash isn't going to be, I wouldn't think would be all that long, because, let's just say they're really struggling along and they're, 3-5 and the defense is playing poorly. You could still make the playoffs and you could still have a great season. I try to think back to when they won the Super Bowl. They were like 6-6 at one point, or 7-6.
Run the table was 4-6 in 2016.
So
4-6.
And it's a long way from here to there, and we don't know what's going to happen over the next month and if that curve will keep going up. But what we've seen so far is unimpressive.
I would underscore that. Very unimpressive. They've got to get better. So, but hey, you know what? It's from a team perspective, it's good when you need to get better and you still won the game and you won it fairly easily on the scoreboard. It's going to be a short week now going into the San Francisco. Heck of a test. Matt LaFleur was already talking about San Francisco being a heck of a test in this post-game presser.
Prediction on SF next week, Mike Fagan wants to know. I'm going 49ers. I can't tell you the score right now, but I'm going
49ers. It's a short week, West Coast trip, and I don't know that this defense can stop a nosebleed if the offense isn't on the field. So no question they're going to try to do what they did tonight. They got to run the ball against Tuchel like they did tonight. Lions came out like the Saints, and they actually ran the ball on that. That helps, but I'm going to go 49ers. Either way, keep it to PackersNews.com for full, extensive coverage of tonight's 35-17 win against the Lions, and a short week going out into a big Sunday night game against the 49ers out in the West Coast. Until then, that man right there, he's Pete Doherty. I'm Ryan Wood. We'll see you later.